Hi, Cassie.
Hi, Caitlin.
Hi, creepy people.
Hello.
I've never really thought about it. I don't know why we wave, but I kind of like it.
We waved because we're on camera now. So now we can wave to the camera and people on YouTube and Patreon see us.
I feel like it's just like we don't know what to do with our hands.
Well, we used to wave when we didn't have cameras. So like that made no sense.
That's true. True story, guys.
But now if you want to see us waving back at you, go to YouTube, join Patreon, ad free.
Do the things.
Do all the things.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, who are we?
Yeah. We're going to get back to that, okay? It feels like pretty on brand to just have an aside in the second sentence of the intro. That's just who we are.
5 seconds in.
It's fine.
If you don't like that, leave now. Get out now while you still can.
This is P&W Haunts and Homicides, where we chat about true crime, the paranormal, and all things spooky. We're going to do something spooky after recording today.
Yes, we are.
In the Pacific Northwest.
I'm wearing this special cemetery necklace just for our little outing later.
Ooh.
You know what else we do in these episodes?
What?
Tarot readings at the end, just so we can get a little deeper insight into what we're talking about for the day.
Yeah, that thing.
It's fun.
That old gal. All right. Are you ready?
I have wine, chapstick, water. I think I'm prepared.
I had to make sure I had my chapstick. I've got the water. Okay. Yeah.
We got all the necessities.
Necessities. Yes. And we already set aside your goodies for our other new show coming soonish.
What?
What?
Is this breaking news right now? Are you just dropping this bomb on everybody?
I feel like we've hinted at it.
Kind of. I don't think we've actually said it was a new show, though.
We haven't.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Stay titty tuned.
Wow, really on one with the titties today.
I like titties. What can I say?
She's all about it.
If you remember, I was wearing that shirt that said something about I like to be titty smothered. So
that's right.
Just still feeling the titties, Hong Kong.
Okay. Oh, wow. All right. Look at her. She's getting after it.
Okay. We can get the sillies out.
All right.
And then we'll go to your probably serious episode.
Well, it's not to say that this is a completely unserious episode, but it's a little bit more lighthearted.
Okay. Well, I love that.
Yeah. I like to mix it up, do a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Get mixy trixy.
Yeah. Anyway, today we're talking about someone who became somewhat of a folk hero during his teenage years, a modern day teen Houdini.
Oh, okay. I'm very intrigued.
There's no magic involved.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Why would you bring up Houdini if there's no magic?
That was just one of the nicknames that they gave him. So, Colton Harris-Moore, also known as the Barefoot Bandit or Barefoot Burglar.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Colton's story is one of adrenaline, reckless crime sprees, and some truly jaw-dropping crash landings and escapes.
Okay.
So buckle up like you're strapped in on a Boeing jet.
Oh, God. I don't know if I want to be strapped in on a Boeing jet. I think I want a good escape plan.
Yeah.
This is sounding like DB Cooper.
I can't say that there aren't maybe slight similarities, but yeah.
Okay, I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, I thought you would really like this one. Okay. In addition to digging through everything I could find online, I watched the Barefoot Bandit documentary as part of my research for this case.
Ooh.
Which is actually kind of cool. They do like part animated, like reenactment type scenes and stuff.
Oh.
Yeah. There are some instances where they have like live action, like real actors doing reenactments of things as well, which I will say makes it a little bit confusing at first to try to figure out like, wait, is that real footage?
Oh.
But I really liked it. I really, really liked it. Colton's criminal activity began early. He was born to parents with addiction issues and seemingly not a lot of resources.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's not a great combo.
Yeah.
But I feel like usually that's how that pans out. Locals were shocked when they realized that it was none other than 10-year-old Colton Harris-Moore who'd broken into the Stanwood Elementary School on Camano Island.
10 years old?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I can't even imagine trying to break into something when I was 10.
Yeah. He was even known to hitchhike at this tender age.
Oh,
I mean, I feel like living on an island in the Puget Sound at this point, probably that was, I mean, still not a safe thing to do. It wasn't safe to do like 5 decades prior even, but yeah, but like in that sort of a smaller, more rural community.
So young.
I know. When Colton was still a young child, his dad began an awful cycle of coming and going, returning, and then leaving again, which is not super healthy just because obviously I think whether you're a child or not, most people crave a little bit of stability in their life.
Yeah, especially kids. They need that.
Yeah, absolutely. Eventually, his father stepped completely out of the picture. Colton's mother has stated that Colton's father was a heavy drinker, not so subtly hinting at alcoholism as a factor for their unstable home life.
Oh, well, it's probably a good thing that he left. I mean,
yeah.
They're both bad.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things where you're like, is it worse for the kid to grow up in an environment where someone is maybe having outbursts or they're seeing things related to, you know, issues with substances that they can't really process? Or is it better to deal with the, you know, the potential abandonment or I don't know.
None of it's good.
No. And you know what? We don't even have time to unpack it because my notes are super long today. I know.
I mean, I don't want to unpack it, so that's fine.
Yeah. You're like, okay, moving on.
Just makes me sad.
I know, it is sad. Ultimately, Colton was raised by a single mother in a mobile home on the island. It may be that keeping himself fed was the initial or at least the primary driver to start with when it came to his criminal career as a kid. But it doesn't seem like we should write off shits and giggles or run-of-the-mill rebellion in the face of an unstable home environment as sort of contributing factors.
Yeah.
Not to say that that's an excuse per se, but, you know, we talk about this a lot where it's like understanding where this person is coming from and their background.
Yeah.
You know, we can figure out ways to maybe, okay, how do we make that not a thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of kids go through that thing where they're a little rebellious. Maybe they break into places here and there, hopefully mostly like abandoned places, but
I don't know, abandoned places, that can be really dangerous too, though.
It's so dangerous, but I'm just like, not for the intent of like harming anybody is kind of what I'm getting at. It's like, I feel like some kids are rebellious and they do that kind of thing, but they don't turn into like criminals in the end. You know?
Hardened, violent criminals.
Yes.
That's, I feel like, the main priority. Like, let's avoid that.
Yeah, please.
This public service announcement provided by... As a teen, dating back to April of 2008, he escaped from a juvenile housing facility in Renton, Washington. By that point, he was already becoming a menace in the region.
Ooh.
Yeah. Not like Dennis the Menace, not like in a super cute kind of way that's like, you know, lovable rascal.
Harmless. Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't say harmful, but also not harmless.
Okay.
At 6'5" and 200 pounds.
Holy noodles.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I was like, oh, Ferk.
That's big.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's why when I read that, I was a little bit confused because the reenactment actor that they had in some of the documentary clips, I was like, that kid ain't 6'5".
Wow.
So when I read that, I was like, okay.
It's probably hard to find.
Right? This green-eyed and now a well-versed, if barefoot, burglar from Camano Island, Colton wasn't your average runaway.
Doesn't sound like it.
No. He was in like the 90th percentile for height. No, I'm just kidding. I was just thinking, I'm like, he's like a kid. I feel like I think about it in terms of like, you know, like a pediatrician. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Big boy.
Is he going to keep growing? Like
I don't think so. I think he probably topped out at that point.
Damn.
I don't know.
How old did you say he was at this point?
I haven't said specifically how old he is, but I do know. Because his birthday, but anyway, yeah.
Well, you said he was a teen. So.
He's a teenager. Yeah. He's like 16 or 17, I want to say, at this point. Thus began the period that Colton, the barefoot burglar, lived on the lam, camping in the woods primarily.
Lived on the lam?
Mm-hmm. He was on the lam.
What does that mean?
It's like running from the law. That's an old-timey way of saying they were like outlaws.
That's interesting. Like what? I can't even picture like where that saying even came from. Like, what does that even mean?
I'm on the lam, doll.
I don't get it.
I feel like I've definitely used that before in a case. She just glossed over it.
I probably wasn't paying attention. That was where I was dissociating.
Oh my God. I just want to make sure you caught on to the fact, other than lived on the lam, he was camping in the woods of the island.
Maybe I thought you were saying lived off the land.
Oh,
I wonder if that's what I just assumed that you meant.
I don't. Computer?
Okay, camping.
Yeah.
Not a good place to camp, I feel like.
I feel like, you know, it's similar in terms of like the climate and everything from here.
It's wet and cold.
Yeah, I would say arguably quite a bit wetter.
Yeah.
Way more wetterer.
I guess I don't know what time of year, but I just...
Largely during like kind of the milder months of like spring and summer. But I mean, this lasted more than 2 seasons, let me say.
Wow. Okay.
It lasted for quite some time. He had a particular set of skills and apparently detested footwear, like a bizarre mashup of Liam Neeson and Mowgli.
Oh, okay. I feel like he was definitely probably neurospicy then.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's some spice in there.
That's a thing.
Yeah. Not diagnosing, but
yeah,
sounds a little spicy. The skills section of his resume included breaking into homes and businesses, stealing credit cards, and using them to purchase all sorts of things. GPS devices, bear mace, because, you know, if you're camping out, yep. And because he's a teenage boy, we know that there had to be some porn in the mix, right?
A couple Playboys.
Mm-hmm. That detail didn't always get a lot of playtime in the nightly news, but kind of cracked me up. I felt like I came across like sources that at least hinted at it, or people in the documentary that like were making kind of like joking comments about it. And I was like, yeah, he's a teenage boy.
It's
with a credit card. Like necessity.
Yeah.
Wow. It all circles back.
So he definitely could afford shoes. He just couldn't. He chose not to wear the shoes. Got it.
Yeah. Yeah. He could afford some shoes. He could have had Jimmy Choos.
Not in the woods, you can't.
I mean, I feel like they make other types of footwear. Fancy, but maybe not with like a stiletto. Anyways, that's beyond. It's not the point. Essentially, all the staples one would need to turn a tree house into a tree home.
Aw.
Just a few things that he needed to survive in the dense woods of rural Washington.
A live, laugh, love sign for his tree home?
Obviously. Obviously. Colton and a friend, and I swear to God, I am not making this name up. He's one of the talking heads. He has the lower fifth. He's got the, you know, the title deal. This is his name, allegedly.
Spit it out.
Harley Davidson Iron Wing.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that was his given name or he chose it? What's the last name again?
Iron Wing.
Harley Davidson Iron Wing.
Like, you cannot make that shit up.
Wow.
But somebody did.
Wow.
Somebody sure fucking did.
I like the Iron Wing part. That's
I know
pretty
it
cool.
sounds like Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
It reminds me of, I don't know, there was one name that I feel like was similar.
The Iron Throne.
Yeah, I feel like there was a specific name on the show though.
It's a mashup of Game of Thrones and Fourth Wing.
Fourth Wing?
Yeah, it's like a dragon smutty book.
Oh.
It's really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that.
It is a really good book.
Okay. Colton and a friend, Harley Davidson Iron Wing, formed a burglary team, and soon enough, Colton's exploits earned him a catchy nickname from the media. It's unclear who exactly dubbed him Teen Houdini, but news channel reporters Marley Ginter of Como 4 and Rob Piercy of King 5's reporting would feature the nickname.
Wow.
They said it. I don't know.
Houdini.
Houdini.
I know.
Oh,
Houdini. Teen Houdini.
Such a missed opportunity.
Kind of sounds like a martini, though. So
yeah, so inappropriate
for his situation, probably.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I guess it's not as bad as monikers go, but I think it also sends a message about the level of threat he was perceived to pose, at least maybe initially.
So that made him sound like less threatening than he actually was.
I feel like it was a little bit making light of it because it doesn't imply necessarily criminality. It's more like you say Houdini, I think Daredevil, perhaps a bit cheeky.
Yeah.
You know? But in my mind, at least, he's not typically associated with true crime.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, let me know if there's something I should know about Houdini.
I feel like there's some stuff about Houdini.
Like sketchy?
I don't know. I can't remember what it is, but there's something.
I feel like there are some things.
Wait, did he die like trying to escape one of his things?
I think so.
Okay. Maybe that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Like someone locked him in there and like someone did something shady to him.
Something shady. Something shady. However, the tone and coverage would change over time as Colton would go on to elude the authorities for roughly 2 years from this point forward.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, pretty successful on that whole running away and escaping the law.
That whole living on this lamb thing.
Uh-huh. That's almost as long as the 3-year sentence that he was supposed to be serving at the time in that transitional juvenile detention facility.
Oh, he escaped.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's where he escaped from. And yeah.
Wow.
So Colton and Harley would take a vehicle at one of the island vacation homes that they'd broken into for joyrides. Here's the thing. If you fuel it up, put it back in the exact right spot, and maybe even do a little light detailing, which apparently they did, the person might not notice. Also, I might not mind if you borrowed my car occasionally at that point.
Right. If you're going to clean it and fill her up.
But I also don't drive a brand new Mercedes-Benz.
Wow.
So
that was really nice and considerate of them, though.
I think they were just trying not to get caught.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Such nice boys.
I know. Such sweet boys.
Very polite, very demure.
So mindful, so demure.
Right, mindful. I don't know. I don't know the word, you guys. I don't TikTok.
I don't TikTok. One of the primary areas where he operated, other than Camano Island, where he was originally from, was the East Sound, a village on Orcas Island.
Ooh, you love you some Orcas Island.
That's so funny because that's literally what I was going to say. This is a place that I know and love. Yours truly spent much of her youth around the holidays and particularly during the lovely summer months in this very place.
Oh, you have to take me there someday.
I know. Okay, you'll love this next part. The deer on the island are adorable.
Oh, they're deer, right? Not deer?
No, they're actual deer. They're just tiny. They're so small. Watching them eat the crab apples off the lawn at my grandparents' place is a very fond memory.
Oh.
Along with card games and, they went on for hours. holiday meals, everyone seated around the living room and dining room that, though sizable as they might have been, oftentimes felt too small for an Irish Catholic family and all of their progeny.
Oh, you're really painting a picture right now.
Yeah.
Very
Good
nice
stuff.
leading into the holidays.
I know. And okay, so here's the weird thing. I wasn't even going to mention this, but I feel like I have to now. It was a sign. I decided just now. We never really did turkey for Thanksgiving when we went up to the island.
Oh.
Yeah, weird, right? We did lamb.
Oh.
And it's because my paternal grandmother developed an allergy to turkey as an adult.
Wow.
I know, isn't that, it's wild. Because I feel like, I don't know, we didn't really have anything else that was like, I don't know, a deviation from kind of the traditional like meal plan or whatever for holidays and stuff. But that was one thing we always did different. We also had so many, like my dad is one of like 9 and they all went on to just procreate like it was their mission. So there's so many of us. So I remember we did Thanksgiving one year where we had turkey, ham, lamb, and I think there might have been something else. I can't even remember what. Yeah.
Lamb sounds good though.
Oh God. My grandma is such a good cook. She makes I've never had it for obvious reasons, but not the lamb. I do eat that. But she makes a chocolate cream pie that everybody says is to die for. Honestly, I want to get the recipe just because even if I won't eat it, I feel like I need that card in my back pocket. You know what I mean?
I probably wouldn't eat it because it's got like whipped cream in it, right?
I think usually
you whip like chocolate pudding and whipped cream basically together. I'm not a whipped cream person.
I don't know.
I'm not even that much of a chocolate person.
Yeah.
I think that's why we like each other so much.
That's the only thing we have in common. That's how this started.
That's interesting. Lamb and then living off the lamb and
oh yeah.
So many synchronicities.
Oh, there you go. I'm living off the lamb. Anyway, all of this is to say, I remember at the time family members expressing concern about my aging grandparents living in an isolated part of this very island as all of this was occurring.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Other than that, I only recall occasionally catching brief snippets about Colton and his crimes on the news. I do remember seeing something about Teen Houdini in real time, but
whoa, I mean, that's cool.
I know.
I don't remember any of it.
Yeah. I remember seeing it when we were up on the island. I don't know that you would have seen it in the news as much here in Portland.
Oh, okay.
Not while he was still on Orcas Island, at least.
Right. Because he's like on an island. So how far could he get?
Oh, well. And then he said, hold my beer.
Hold my lamb.
I want you to remember that you said that. Okay.
Hold my lamb chop.
Meanwhile, Colton, who's the same age as my younger brother, so early 30s now, but at the time, obviously, we're talking about his teenage years. They're literally born within 2 months of each other in the same year. So
wow.
I was like, okay, I know exactly what was very familiar. Spent a lot of time with a kid just like you.
Did your brother wear shoes?
My brother did wear shoes. He was known to don footwear when it was necessary.
At least there's that.
Yeah. So that's really where they deviate.
The similarities end. Yeah.
So meanwhile, Colton, who's the same age as my younger brother, was getting up to some stiff, like stealing an infrared camera from a local island fire station, seemingly with the sole purpose of using it to scope out homes before burglaries.
That's creepy.
I know. So you can tell if people are in the house because a lot of people have vacation properties on these islands.
I was like, was he going to go ghost hunting?
No, I don't think so.
Dang it.
The crazy part, though, is that fire station was directly across the street from a home that he had burglarized already.
Wow.
Twice.
Holy shit. Well, small island, am I right?
Yeah. How does the infamous quote go? I think something like, fool me once, can't get tricked again. To which Colton said, hold my beer, which I think you're going to find, I will quote him as saying a couple of times, maybe. We're up to 2, I think now. So.
I mean, hopefully he wasn't drinking alcohol like that and everything.
I have to imagine there was probably a little bit of underage drinking somewhere along the way. I feel like at a certain point, that's small potatoes.
I like to think he, as much of a criminal as he was like a hard pass on the alcohol.
Oh, okay. He's like straight edge.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That's the vibe I'm getting from this guy.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess we'll see. But other than getting carried away by the juvenile version of true crime light, it hardly computes that he's making the news based on our story so far, right? Like, it's just, I guess what I'm trying to say is that it just doesn't seem crazy newsworthy at this point. Like, yeah,
some burglaries happens every day.
Yeah. That just doesn't feel like, oh, I'm not going to see that on CNN.
Right.
You know?
Local news. Yeah. But
yeah. Well, that's because I did one of my favorite things and buried the lead, of course. You guys are so silly. Stop making that face at me.
Tell me,
creeping
woman.
me out. He wasn't just a local kid causing minor problems with his shenanigans, though. Colton took his crime spree on the road. I mean, and also, or rather, to the air.
Okay.
That's right. In 2010, at the age of 19, he stole a plane and crash landed on an island in the Bahamas.
That's really far away.
Though it wasn't his first.
Crash or plane stealing, plane theft?
In fact, far from it. His fascination with planes wasn't a secret. He'd stolen an infrared camera from a fire station to scope out homes for burglaries. Remember that? From like 15 seconds ago. But stealing a plane? That kind of took things to a whole new level. Dude had a major hard-on for aviation.
Interesting.
Fun fact, or maybe disturbing fact, prior to his catching that international flight, Colton had ordered a book titled How to Fly a Plane.
I was going to say, how did he even know how to fly it?
Using a credit card that he managed to steal somehow from a local restaurant. He even had said book shipped to that same restaurant, which on the surface I kind of thought was a dummy move, proving that I probably would have needed a masterclass to get away with anything at that age.
Yeah.
I was like, that's the stupidest thing you could do. And then I was like, oh, actually, all right. So here's how it plays out. He watched the tracking for the order so that he could ensure he'd be able to grab the loot at an opportune time. He waited until after the restaurant's business hours to break in after close and take his book.
Wow.
I know. I don't know. That was probably still pretty risky, but who would think that you'd return to the scene of the crime in this case? That's murderer stuff, man.
Yeah.
Not just, I don't know.
How did he track it? Did he have a computer?
Yeah.
Wow.
Bro, this kid, roll savvy in some odd ways. Okay.
How do you get internet in the woods?
I mean, I don't think they're offering Wi-Fi in the woods, but there are other places that you can go.
Oh, Starbucks. Okay.
Yeah. Starbucks. You might almost think this guy was some evil mastermind plotting his next move. I'm not so sure about that, but his obsession with aviation was real. Like I said, massive hard-on. Obviously, he put these books and manuals that he managed to get his little raccoon hands on to practical use. He was fascinated by airplanes. He had pictures of them up in his room. He drew pictures of them and could rattle off fun facts about planes as he saw them flying overhead.
Okay, so this is just cementing the neurospiciness.
I feel like, yeah.
Of this like hyper fixation on planes.
It's giving the tism is strong.
Yes.
Yeah. Again, not diagnosing, but I mean, hey, listen.
We're doctors. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm like So back to his exploits. Like that one time that he casually broke into a safe after ransacking a local store, netting some essential supplies, but also roughly $3,000 after beating the safe in.
Oh, I was like, how did he learn how to like lockpick a safe?
No. In the documentary, you actually see the safe and it's pretty much demolished. Kid's a freaking beast.
I was going to say, how do you beat a safe?
Yeah. With a crowbar, I think. And even still, what?
He must have had some rage he needed to get out or something.
I think it's safe to say.
Safe to say?
The crazy thing is Colton is believed to have been, again, I'm coming back because I couldn't get over this. Essentially living in the woods and occasionally couch surfing. He's living off his exploits and the occasional kindness of others while executing numerous burglaries that would continue to escalate. Local police did at times find some of his camping sites in the area. You see quite a few of them in the documentary. Colton's dog, also they just drop that in. Like he's just hanging out in the woods with a dog that I was like, we're just learning about the dog? Does anyone know the dog's name?
What kind of dog?
It looked like it was a black lab. I don't know if that's really the kind of dog that he had.
But they didn't say his name?
No, I don't remember anyone saying the name of the dog.
I feel like it was aviation related.
Right?
Orville. I just remember that from the true crime cards we were just reading.
Yeah. Colton's dog was even impounded during one of their various searches and held as evidence. Despite Colton's mother's attempts to reclaim the dog, authorities wouldn't allow it because evidence.
I hope he was being taken care of.
Yeah, well, though clearly, as his mother pointed out, if they planned to subpoena the canine, they were barking up the wrong tree.
He didn't have anything to do with it.
I know.
Leave the dog alone.
I know. It really stressed me out when they were talking about the dog. So that's why there are so many puns. Because I was like, I got to figure out how to stress me out.
God.
I don't know what to do with my hands.
Leave Orville alone.
I love how you just named him. In all seriousness, they probably thought that the dog would be easy leverage with the kid. I mean, they wanted to bring his spree to an end without blowing their overtime budget. A number of people that knew Colton well commented throughout the documentary that he was always on the hunt for a new source of adrenaline, seemingly. And it certainly doesn't seem like he was a complete dummy. We already know he was pretty good at getting away with his crimes and that they would eventually take on a whole new scale. So as you might suspect, his pooch didn't stay at the pound for long. Of course, the guy who steals things is going to steal back his dog.
Oh, thank goodness.
I was dying. I was like, really? Is this real? Because they do a cartoon animation of it. So I was like, is this real? Did he really do this? Or come on, how much artistic license are we taking? Nope. Much to the dismay of the authorities, that happened.
The one thing I'm okay with him stealing is the dog.
I know. Well, especially after his mom tried to get the dog back and they were like, nope, it's evidence. And she was like, okay.
I mean, I can see where they're coming from, but
I mean, I feel like that's pretty thin, guys.
More of a soft spot for the dog because the dog doesn't know what's going on. It just knows it's not with its human anymore. So that's what breaks my heart.
Well, and I was really worried. I was like, okay, yes, this is based in the Pacific Northwest, but it's a small island. I don't know what their resources are. I was scared shitless that they were going to tell us that this dog was taken to like a kill shelter or something. I was like, I won't finish this documentary.
I wouldn't listen to the story. There was another dog.
Nope. We'd have to go.
No.
That would be it. Very short episode. That's the crime. Who fucking cares about the Bahamas?
Okay, but I want to know about the Bahamas. Then.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. It's kind of a big part of the whole thing. Yeah. So remember how I said that he would be arrested after making it all the way to the Bahamas? But that wasn't the first plane that he'd stolen and then subsequently crashed. Do you remember I said something about that?
So he crashed more than one plane.
Mm-hmm.
How do you, oh my God.
Well, listen, if you're trying to learn how to fly a plane from a book,
Right. After crashing one plane, I would not. How do you get back in another plane?
He is a young, dumb teenage boy. I feel like do I need to say more?
God, plane crashes.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think this next part could be part of the explanation for how the story seemingly blew up. I mean, aside from the overall outlandishness of his series of crimes. In November 2008, he reportedly stole the plane of then radio personality Bob Rivers from a hangar on Orcas Island.
Wow.
So it's kind of like you fuck with a celebrity's stuff and you're already like escalating. Like, yeah, I could see Bob maybe getting on the mic and being like, this fucking kid stole my plane.
Did they know who stole it?
I don't know that they were confident right away because at this point, he hadn't stolen a bunch of planes. So they're like, who could have done this? And actually, I think initially the authorities were sort of like, oh, this has got to be like, they suspected maybe even like drug runners or something.
That makes sense. Like that or like terrorists or something bigger than just a teenager.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, joyriding.
Yeah. Joy crashing.
That plane, a Cessna 182, was valued at over $150,000 pre-flight, which is, I gotta say, pretty fucking cheap for a plane. Okay, we're gonna learn. I'm guessing significantly less afterwards because Colton may have taught himself how to fly a plane, essentially, but for all his efforts, playing flight simulator games and reading aircraft manuals, he hadn't taught himself how to stick the landing.
That's a very important part of flying a plane, I feel like.
It's sort of essential if you ever want to do it again.
It's like, oh yeah, okay, I did it. I'm up. Shit.
Oh,
I gotta get back down, guys.
I've really miscalculated.
I got too excited. I blew my load too soon.
All right. About 300 miles east, he crash landed it on the Yakima Reservation, fleeing from the crash site before authorities made it to the scene.
He landed on a reservation. I mean, he crashed on a reservation.
Clearly was not in full control of where this plane was going. I think as the crash landing implies.
They've been through enough.
Yeah. Seriously. Leave me alone. Honestly, this next crime might seem like small potatoes compared to the theft of an actual ass airplane, but he also robbed a grocery store on Orcas Island as well.
Oh yeah, he got hungry after all that crashing.
Totally. Based on the surveillance footage, I think I've actually been to that grocery store on the island. Even without seeing the footage from the store, that would be a fair assumption though, because it's not a large island.
Right.
And unless a lot has changed since I was last there, I don't think there's like a Walmart supercenter or similar down the road. Like there's not that many places to go. Anyway, the footage is grainy, but what is visible is an individual driving a forklift directly into the ATM machine. I mean, like, it's funny, but it's not funny. Like, Colton, bad.
It's so random. You crash a plane and then steal a forklift and ram an ATM.
Yeah. And some of these, it's like, it's really hard to track down like the exact date. And so some of these things might be like occurring within a short time of each other, but be slightly out of order. But holy shit. I mean, just... Anyways, back to our crash course in aviation. See what I did there?
I do.
You get it? With Colton, because this guy was stealing planes, trains, and automobiles left and right. I mean, if you're going to steal a plane, you're probably also going to steal other stuff.
And forklifts.
Yeah, and forklifts. Back home on Camano Island near the summer of 2009, he broke into a police officer's patrol car that was parked in front of the police officer's home.
Holy shit, he's getting bold.
Pretty brazen, right?
Yeah.
He stole police equipment, including a cell phone, an official issue police rifle, and a supply of ammunition.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
Why is the police leaving a gun in the car outside?
Why? Okay, say it again. Why are...
What did I say?
Why is the... Yeah.
I don't care. I don't speak, right? Why is this policeman leaving a gun in his car parked outside?
I feel like I have seen where they have some sort of like a rifle rack. I sort of assume that that's got some sort of a locking mechanism to it. But yeah, now I have a lot of follow-up questions.
I guess, and they're probably like, who's going to break into a police car? Like,
again, Colton said, hold my beer.
Yeah.
As the seasons changed, Colton's MO certainly had not. This next part of the story that I'm going to tell you gives you a little bit of an idea about just how much of a Charlie Foxtrot situation Colton's criminal antics and the manhunt for him had become. Charlie Foxtrot. That's another one of those like pilots. They talk and they do the code stuff like in the military.
What's a Charlie Foxtrot mean?
I can't remember.
Oh.
I was just saying, I think that's oh God, I did look it up though, because I was like, okay, I want to use an aviation term and like say something like, funny. I think it's literally for like a catastrophic like fuck up or something. Charlie Foxtrot is a military euphemism for a mistake or disorganization. It is similar to the term snafu.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got you.
Which that one I know we've like been like, what is that exactly? Like, what does that technically mean? I know what I think, but Colton had made his way to Canada from northern Washington because he stole a boat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like, how do you get through the border?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did he have his passport?
I think at this point you still did not need a passport to go into Canada.
I forget that was a thing.
Yep. And as one might do in the land of maple syrup, he briefly befriended some Canadian musicians when he approached them on the side of the road after their van broke down.
Aw.
It's like the most adorable, like meet cute with just like the most Canadian adore. They're like, oh.
And then he became a roadie and then that's the end of the story.
Right? No. When their friend arrived to pick them up, the group ended up smoking weed in the vehicle.
Duh. Canadian band.
They seem like super sweet and like normal people, just Canadian musicians. They just, they're just living life and being Canadian.
Were they in the documentary?
They were.
Oh.
Yeah. He stayed in one of the men's camper vans on his property after spending that night around the fire, enjoying their high.
Oh,
I know. It was like kind of wholesome, honestly.
Yeah.
From what I gather, he then made his way back stateside and in Bonners Ferry, Idaho on September 29th of 2009, managed to steal another Cessna that he flew westward, landing, in a manner of speaking, in Granite Falls, Washington. Camano Island had been his intended landing site, but when the aircraft ran out of fuel, his plans had to abruptly change.
Oh, I gotta fuel this thing? Fuck.
I know. From the sound of things, that day he came awfully close to becoming another aviation fatality statistic.
Jesus.
Yeah. I believe this is the plane that was, just a very, very short distance from the nose impacting with a tree stump that was like, how old this tree must have been because it was massive and it would have just gone straight down the center of the cockpit.
Holy
shit. Probably would have smashed him to bits.
So he's crashed another plane.
Yes.
Plane
correct.
number 2.
Yeah.
As far as we know.
Yeah. I feel like there could be planes that we maybe don't even realize. Who knows? listen, it's a lot of theft. It's a lot of thievery.
Wow.
It's just a lot. It's really extra. When authorities were made aware of the crashed aircraft, a massive manhunt in Snohomish County ensued. SWAT teams were deployed, but Colton had become a ghost, vanishing into the wilderness. They searched the nearby area, but the only thing they could find was the cash bag that he left behind as he fled their approach. That's right. He literally just like doop, 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 moonwalked away from the SWAT team. Reportedly with $20,000 inside this cash bag that he just dropped.
He can get more. He's really good at stealing.
I know. He's super good at stealing. I mean, super good. Maybe that's debatable.
All it takes is a forklift. Who knew?
I actually think that what I remember from the documentary and some of the other research that I did was that the whole forklift thing with the ATM, I don't think he got it open.
It didn't actually work?
Yeah. I know you're shocked.
I was kind of thinking like how he would have to smash that thing a lot. And I feel like he wouldn't have had time.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like the authorities are arriving, sir.
You can't get away very fast on a forklift.
It's true. I don't think that's how he was going to escape. Okay. Meanwhile, the internet went wild for Colton in what was cleverly coined the Colton craze. T-shirts, song tributes, and you guys, YouTube videos aplenty were made by those looking to profit from his exploits, or as the documentary shows, teens absolutely blown away by his brazen escapades. They were like, this is so wild or so cool, or a lot of reactions.
Wow.
A lot of thoughts and feelings. I have to send you a link.
Oh, it's very small. Okay, it enlarged it.
Oh, okay.
Do I read it or are you going to read it?
I have a line about
it.
So I've just sent Cassie a picture of a T-shirt that was made during this era. I'm going to refer to it as the Mama Tried T-shirt. It was wildly popular.
Wow. That's funny. Is that his face on it?
It is. Correct. Because there is at least one infamous post of him just like in the woods when he was in his camping phase, still on the island. And he posted to Instagram during this time. He's like running from the law and posting from the woods.
When he was in his camping era?
Yeah. When he was in his villain era. His camping villain era.
Just living off the lamb era.
Yeah, exactly. Suddenly, he had thousands. That was stupid. I don't know why I did that. That just happened out of my mouth.
That's okay. I didn't think it was stupid.
Suddenly, he had thousands of friends on social media. But for all the folk hero attention, not everyone was thrilled. One resident of Orcas Island, a place where Colton obviously had committed several burglaries, joked about selling casts of his footprints online as memorabilia. That person and his wife experienced backlash real quick. Death threats, in fact.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
From why?
Because they were trying to profit essentially like off of that, like,
he's a criminal.
Yeah, like, honestly, I think that's really, do we not have bigger fish to fry?
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever. But there's actually a news clip in the documentary. This is someone, I believe this was from Orcas Island, and they were having kind of like a town hall style meeting. It looks like they're in like the high school gymnasium. And this guy, somebody handed him a mic, and I was like, well, that was your first mistake, because does that man look like he needs a microphone? I will answer that for you. No, he does not. And he basically says like, everybody wants him dead. Like people were like, at first he was talking about like, this is like becoming a real problem. We got to fix this, blah, blah, blah. And everybody was like, yeah. And they're like with him. And he's like, everybody, honestly, I'd rather see him dead. And people were like, oh, you buddy. Hear it. It's audible. People go like, ugh.
Yeah. Which
I was glad that, you know, people weren't immediately jumping to like, let's kill this kid.
Like
some people definitely were like vigilante,
like a pitchfork crowd. What are they called?
Yes, like villagers chasing after him with their pitchforks. Yeah, that was very much the imagery.
Wow,
I know.
He didn't kill anybody.
No.
I mean, definitely, I do understand the danger of stealing planes and crashing them. You could kill a lot of people.
Absolutely.
But
absolutely. And yes, obviously this is like, okay, we can't keep doing this.
Yeah.
You know? At the height of the manhunt for Colton, he'd been squatting in a local air hangar when he stole a vehicle belonging to the owner's wife and drove to their home to make calls, as it seemed he had been doing recently. He was greeted by the SWAT team, whom he just ran away from, of course.
Okay, bye.
So he's squatting in their air hangar. He steals the wife's truck, drives to those same people's home, and he's been doing this, going there to make calls. And somebody figures out like, oh, hey, I think this is what's going on.
Wow.
And the SWAT team is there waiting for him. And he's just like, bye. No, thank you.
I have places to be.
Yeah. Dude must have had quite the long stride. Okay. This is where him being 6'5" is significant.
I just imagine the squat team.
The squat team.
Literally the squat team as like little short people like running after him. And he's
just a bunch of like my mini-me's chasing him. He was constantly outpacing local law enforcement. And now these dude bros too. I mean, like the SWAT team gets some serious training and they're typically like they're like a pretty hardy athletic crew. Yeah. So
I'm sure they weren't actually a squat team, but
yeah, no, a SWAT team.
Yeah.
No, like literally it was the SWAT team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was saying squat team.
Oh,
like they're short.
Moving on. A deputy recommended that locals on the island whose property Colton had passed through at some point. So this goes back to the people that got the death threats. He had been on their property and he'd left footprints. Okay. So he was like, well, you should take casts of the footprints and see if they could sell, you know, put them up on eBay, you know, just while his crimes are still newsworthy. So in the documentary I watched, the woman explained a lot of people looked at the listing, but they actually received more than one death threat through eBay.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't understand why that needs a death threat.
I know. Well, one of them apparently basically said that they were enabling his criminal lifestyle. And she was like, what?
How?
Like, I failed to see how exactly, because they weren't planning to wire Colton whatever price they fetched.
Yeah.
Like, but at any rate, she said they'll probably just hang them on the side of their chicken coop.
Oh my gosh.
I know. Still kind of cute and folksy, but like the death threats are like, oh, that's yucky.
It reminds me of Bigfoot, like Bigfoot casts.
That is exactly what I thought of. And honestly, like it's a sizable footprint. So it kind of.
Wow. Yeah.
He's a big boy.
Did they ever get any like prints from his toes, like fingerprints?
I don't think so.
Oh, so that would be so like a really cool way to catch someone. Did toes have fingerprints like fingers?
You know,
I really want to look at my toes right now.
I feel like they do, because I feel like I've actually heard about cases where they identified people based on like the prints on their toes.
Obviously, like in the mud, they're not going to get it. But if he was like in people's homes barefoot.
No, this is like outside.
Okay.
Like in the mud. So.
Yeah. But if he like went to break into someone's house and like left footprints, they could probably get actual prints from it, right?
Well, so here's the thing is sometimes he would leave little messages. He would like do like a kind of like a chalk outline around like his foot, and he'd put messages like, see ya, like, and then sign it like the Barefoot Bandit.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
There's so many weird little things that I don't even really have them in my notes officially as like part of like the story, but like I figured kind of as we discussed, they would sort of come up.
Wow.
Or if they don't, then it's like, I don't really care if it's part of the story. Some of it's just kind of, it's interesting or kind of funny, but also like neither here nor there. But
how did they not dust for toe prints?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's so interesting.
Yep. Amidst the chaos that was Colton's reign over the island, Jackson Holtz, author of Fly, Colton Fly, said when he asked Colton's mother what she would give him for Christmas if she could gift him anything, she replied, a bulletproof vest.
Wow. Oh, that's really sad for her.
Yeah, I think she was very fearful that this was not going to end well.
Yeah.
Which I feel like is valid.
Yeah.
You're committing, these are big boy crimes. So you might be still technically a kid through a lot of this, but yeah, I mean, and especially if you're armed, I could see where, I mean, nobody wants that.
Yeah. But, and people obviously want him dead, it sounds like.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I thought you were going to say shoes.
Yeah.
Oh, that was sad.
No, it's so much worse. Echoing that same dark sentiment, Orcas Island airport manager B. Von Tobel said, I think we're well beyond the Robin Hood stage. We're into the John Dillinger stage. I don't know if that feels totally accurate, but point taken. Perhaps sensing a shift in the sentiment from some, Colton was on the move. Flintstone style again around this time. Get it?
Yes.
Because he was barefoot behind the wheel.
the little feet.
Exactly. Along this latest stretch of his journey as he passed through from Western Washington into Oregon, he left a note at a Raymond Animal Hospital that read, drove by, had some extra cash. Please use this money for the care of the animals.
Oh, he liked animals.
Oh, yeah, for sure. He was a big animal lover. He signed it Colton Harris-Moore, in parentheses, AKA the Barefoot Bandit, Camano Island, Washington.
Ever heard of me?
Ever heard of her? Yeah. As he continued east, he broke into roughly a half dozen airports on his way before landing on one in Bloomington, Indiana. Pun intended, since landing seems to be the hard part for this wonderkind.
Obviously.
Yeah. He took off from that airport in yet another stolen airplane. What? And flew over 1,000 miles south to Abaco Island in the Bahamas. Cassie, we're there.
We're in the Bahamas, finally. Yeah, I've always wanted to go.
Those that witnessed his descent said he did fairly well. But I guess it's all relative because court documents show that over $600,000 in damages were done related to the destruction of the aircraft and other equipment.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot. This plane was said to have been running low on fuel at the time of his crash landing on the island. Turns out it might be a little harder to push the fuel gauge when you're piloting a plane, as opposed to sort of just, coasting downhill in neutral in a car. Can't use that same tactic.
No.
You shouldn't.
Different things.
Yeah, different things. I mean, you can, technically, but then...
He did it.
Yeah. Sure did.
I did it. But did you die?
Exactly. Very nearly sometimes. This one sounds like it was smoother. He was learning.
He still didn't hurt anyone though, did he?
No.
Okay.
He still also didn't, refuel.
You think he would have learned?
I mean, it's kind of hard to refuel a plane that you've stolen.
Right. That's true.
So there's that.
Also, he could be, like me, where it's red. It's fine. I'll get there.
Yeah, it's fine.
You just pray to whatever otherworldly being you believe in that you will get there.
I pray to all of the gods, the old and the new. It wasn't long before the FBI began officially working with Bahamian authorities to try to track Colton down. He quickly resumed his habit of frequent burglaries. Because
what else is he going to do?
I know. Old habits die hard.
He doesn't have any stuff.
Exactly. He broke into a restaurant with a crowbar, later sneaking across the dock to steal a boat to make his way to the Eleuthra and Harbour Islands, where he totally chilled out. Just kidding. Obviously not.
Yeah. I don't see that for him.
He has zero chill. At the Harbor General Store, owner Ruthie K allowed him to plug in his laptop and use the Wi-Fi. Very nice, because he was like, I don't have any money. And she was like, that's fine. And he's like, are you sure? And she's like, take the yes, dude. And she even offered him a sandwich.
Oh, that's
and he
so
was
sweet.
like, again, $0, 0 cents. And she was like, again, take the yes. She's definitely like a mom energy.
Yeah.
You know?
I'll take the sandwich too.
I know. She said that, like many islanders, when she learned about his background, she truly didn't want him to get caught.
Wow. Okay.
Well, she reflected on her own experience as a single mother of 3 and really felt for a kid that didn't seem to have the same family support system that she'd had.
Yeah. I could see that.
Yeah. I mean, she had people to back her up. And, you know, she talks about it really briefly in the documentary, but she was like, it was such the other end of the spectrum from people that were like wishing him dead.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, wow, okay, so maybe the energy is a little bit better on a tropical island. Who would have thought?
Yeah. And he's still a kid. I mean,
at this point, by the time he lands in the Bahamas, he is 19.
Well,
but
you're still a kid.
He's very much a kid.
Yeah. Your brain is not fully formed until you're like 26
25.
or some shit. 25. Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, he's also been literally living on the run for multiple years. I mean, going on 3 years at this point.
Wow.
It's a lot. He's not really thinking super clearly for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
You know? On the islands, he was doing anything but lying low. So again, not thinking super clearly. In fact, he was trying to attract attention, if anything. Telling those nearby on the island docks, he's just boating around, he said, call the cops. Frankly, he was bored and he wanted to be chased. So he's like egging the locals on.
Wow.
Some of the locals would prove happy to oblige. 10 or 12 of one of the witnesses' friends on that very dock showed up and gave chase after Colton from there on the water. There was a reward posted for him at this point. So that kind of figures. They're like, yeah, we'll take free money to track this kid down and end that whole situation.
But did they know who Houdini he was?
Yeah, they did. Yeah. No, they were aware of the reward. So they were like,
Houdini-ness.
Yeah. The man captaining the boat, chasing the teen, said that Colton had some serious skills behind the wheel. And that's saying something because that particular man, he'd been behind the wheel of a boat all his life. Wow. I mean, you live on an island. That's it's like a part of the culture. But he had also, in fact, received some formal training. So I think, you know, he did this professionally. So he's like, yeah, no, kid's got skills. It's kind of wild.
It's kind of like feels like a waste. Like he could have been something, a boat rider, a pilot, a car driver. I don't know.
Something.
Obviously, he was good at stuff.
Yeah.
Just
definitely
was utilizing it in the wrong way.
Yeah, not really applying those skills in the best way possible.
Yeah. Apply yourself.
Yes.
But do it correctly.
Yeah. In any case, Colton was able to get away from the group of villagers hoping to collect on the cash reward. He's literally, I think that's where the Houdini thing makes sense. He just escapes.
Wow.
Every freaking time. You know, until he doesn't.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
Just like Houdini.
In response to Colton's audacious arrival, Chief Inspector Moss of the Harbour Island Police mounted an operation aimed at finally arresting Colton.
Good luck.
Well, he organized his on-duty officers and even called in those that were off-duty. He was like, this bitch is not getting off this island.
Shit.
A Harbour Island security guard spotted him at about midnight. So I'm given to understand this is the same day that he was basically being chased by the locals on the water. There's surveillance footage of Colton sprinting along the docks. Well, presumably. I think there's some actual footage and some reenactment in this doc, obviously. So I don't know if the clip that I was referring to where you see him sprinting across the docks is real or if that's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyways, you see it. Phenomenal. Either way, love it. I love it. I think they have some real footage from him like in the Bahamas, and I don't know if that's part of it. It's hard to tell. Anyways, I'm getting lost.
Get lost in the docks.
Ron Below. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. It's spelled Billot. Billow. I don't know. Ron Billow. I can't say it with a question mark on the end. I'm Ron Burgundy. Ron Billow and Jordan Sackett, both boat captains, heard that the Barefoot Bandit was spotted near the boats belonging to them and many others. And they're like, we should probably go check out our boats.
Yeah.
The pair essentially joined in on the high-speed pursuit on the water because they were concerned that without support, the local law enforcement team might lose the teen Houdini yet again.
I mean, that's a fair assumption.
Yeah. Even with all of that pre-approved overtime. Eventually, Colton was cornered on a sandbar, at which point, over the loudspeakers of the neighboring boats, he was being told he had nowhere to go. You guys, aside from a kind of sad and likely neglectful childhood, this is where the story kind of takes a dark turn. After a dramatic high-speed boat chase in the Bahamas, Colton puts a gun to his head, saying he's going to kill himself.
Oh.
He can't go back. Okay. At the same time, he's also got his back turned to the wheel and the controls. And they can tell, at least one of the boat captains are like, he's slowly maneuvering himself off the sandbar.
So he's like steering the boat from behind himself?
Yeah.
Wow.
He's getting off a sandbar.
Holy shit.
I know. Crazy. I'm like, I wonder, I feel like there was a part of him that did kind of feel like he's kind of at a breaking point. But I feel like part of him thought all of their attention is going to be sort of on me, but in a different way.
Yeah.
By sort of saying those things. I don't know. I wasn't there. Not in his head. But that's what I suspect. He's
giving it another shot, though. He's still trying to escape.
I know. He's like always be maneuvering. Thankfully, in the end, he did surrender without anyone being seriously harmed.
Ooh, okay. I was worried.
I know. It gets a little scary there for a minute. The documentary has footage of Colton being transported in a bulletproof vest, mind you, still barefoot, back to the United States.
Wow.
Which is, it's a strange thing to see, someone wearing a bulletproof vest and barefoot.
Did they think people would try to like assassinate him? Is that why he was wearing a vest?
I think it's fair to say that yes. Yeah. I think it's fair to say that they didn't want to take that risk. And honestly, I think in cases where particularly, I mean, the FBI is involved, it's high profile enough that they cannot or they don't want to run the risk of, while he's in custody, any harm befalling him.
Yeah.
That, I mean, it's a major issue if someone is harmed or, worst case, killed in custody. I
definitely see what you're saying, though, about like him being shoeless and wearing a bulletproof vest.
It's a very, I don't know, it's a stark contrast. It's sort of strange, but okay. In 2012, Colton Harris-Moore was sentenced to 7 years in a Washington state prison after pleading guilty to bank burglary, interstate transportation of a stolen aircraft, interstate and foreign transportation of a stolen firearm, being a fugitive in possession of a firearm, piloting an aircraft without a valid airman certificate, and interstate transportation of a stolen vessel.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's it?
Well, I think it's multiple instances of each in some cases. Yeah. He'd previously been charged in absentia in the Island County Juvenile Court with counts related to his 2008 to 2010 crime spree. He was also charged in the San Juan Superior Court in October 2009, which is when his arrest warrant had been issued.
Wow.
At sentencing, U.S. District Judge Richard A. Jones noted that Harris-Moore had endangered others with his, quote, reckless conduct and a host and variety of poor choices.
Yeah.
And apparently the judge had a sense of humor. The judge told him it was time for a new life flight plan. Nicely done.
Seriously, though.
Yeah. Judge Jones ordered that Mr. Harris-Moore's federal sentence be served concurrent with the 87-month sentence imposed in Island County Superior Court December 16th, 2011, and also ordered that the federal sentence be served consecutive to the juvenile sentence that Mr. Harris-Moore escaped from in 2008. So
fair.
Lots of sentencing.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's any part of that I want to pick apart and say I don't like, or, Yeah. I feel like it's, gosh, Colton, it seems fair.
For once.
Yeah. Seems kind of fair. I feel like it seems like it struck a balance between, obviously punishing in a way that sort of, well, this next part explains how we sort of try to, in a way, create some sort of balancing of the scales in terms of the debt to society and his victims. So,
okay.
Interestingly, he agreed to sell the rights to his life story for $1.4 million to 20th Century Fox to help pay restitution to his victims. Which just right off the top, we've got a $150,000 aircraft that he stole from Bob Rivers. We've got another one that he crash landed in the Bahamas. There was $600,000 or more in damage just to that. So you're up to like $750,000 just from those two.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not.
So it probably didn't even cover it.
I have to imagine that he's probably paying some restitution. Hard to say. I feel like.
I hope so.
Yeah. Colton doesn't like the Barefoot Bandit nickname and insists that what he did wasn't fun. It was just survival.
Okay. But some of your actions seem to scream otherwise, like signing it.
Yeah.
And
there's a lot of actions that he took that aren't strictly speaking survival. You're not stealing baby formula.
But again, how old was he when he said that, though? Was it like right after his sentencing and stuff?
No.
Or okay. So maybe he grew up a little bit and was like,
bit.
oh, well, maybe that was just my kid brain being an idiot.
Yeah, it's hard to say. There are some different, you know what? Let's see. Cut. It's hard to say. I do have some information coming up that I think will maybe shed a little bit of light, but I don't know that we get a clear indication of like what the Colton of today maybe would think, but
okay.
He studied aeronautical engineering in prison, and his future dream is to design planes. As of 2022, Colton has remained reclusive, with his whereabouts largely unknown. Colton's lawyer, John Henry Brown, would state, Colton wants people to know that he does not like the attention and that what he did was not fun at all. When he was captured on July 13th, 2010, Colton Harris-Moore was just 19 years old. Upon his release from the Washington State Department of Corrections, Colton Harris-Moore was transferred from his prison cell to Reynolds work release in Seattle. There is a picture of him while he was working there. And I was like, I know exactly where that building is because you can see out the window. And I'm like, I know where that is. Anyways, where he reportedly worked for his lawyer, John Henry Brown, and was required to check in and out of the work release facility. So, what do you think? Was Colton a misguided, wayward youth with thrill-seeking tendencies, or a reckless criminal who let his addiction to adrenaline spiral out of control?
I feel like a little bit of both.
My next line, maybe two things can be true.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
It does sound like he changed.
Yeah.
Just from the little pieces of information. And he's free, obviously, now.
Yes.
So nothing has come of that. So hopefully.
I do have a very short little Patreon bonus mini-sode where we can talk about some other things that happened around the time of his release and just prior to his release. And then maybe I'll go ahead and link you to his LinkedIn.
Oh, okay.
Very interesting stuff. Yeah.
Wow.
But for now, should we do some tarot?
Yeah, let's do some tarot. I want to see what comes out.
All right. Where are you feeling?
I don't know, wherever your little fingies are drawn to.
Okay. Oh, okay. I don't know. I don't know about this. Okay, it's the 10 of Swords. I'm going to let you...
Ooh, we haven't gotten this one.
We haven't? Okay.
No.
I'm going to let you Vanna a little bit so that I can grab the book.
Okay. So 10 of Swords, and it's a ram? Or what is this?
I think so.
Like a ram skull? That's kind of close to a lamb.
Oh, ram-lamb. Ram-a-lamma.
So it's a ram skull with like bones behind it in the desertish area, maybe sand.
Yeah.
Could be the beach. Could be the Bahamas. We don't know.
Well, it is the P&W deck, so I feel like it's probably more of a desert.
Well, yeah. But I'm like, it could represent the Bahamas.
It could. Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah. And as I recalled, the imagery on the traditional deck is just as dark.
Yeah. Ooh, this is such a cool card.
It is. Yeah. Okay. So our keywords are exhaustion, giving up, betrayal, pain, and sadness.
Wow, definitely all of those things. The dad giving up on him.
Well, bit. Well, and then at the end, I think he kind of has to eventually just give up.
Yeah, exhaustion. He said he was like bored too and needed the chase.
Yeah. In many decks, the 10 of Swords depicts a man lying on the ground with 10 swords stuck in his back. Ouch.
Yeah.
Understatement of the year. Tens represent the end of a cycle and the start of a new one. Therefore, this card symbolizes an end to the suffering and sadness you've endured, just in time, for you probably couldn't stand much more. That really makes me think of right before he was actually captured in the Bahamas.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a little bit more island energy in this card than I thought. Wow. You were right.
Usually am.
Yeah. Your trials and tribulations are ending, but you still need to clear away the dead wood before you can move ahead.
Huh.
Which that's also like kind of a beachy thing.
That is interesting. But then you also like he camped and stuff in the forest and you put this nice wood block out.
Yeah. Okay. Extreme stress and worrying have exhausted you, perhaps leading to an illness. Oh my God. Okay, well, that's going to be significant. We're going to talk about that, I think, in the Patreon minisode, actually.
Okay.
But the storm has passed and the clouds will open up again.
Like in the sky?
In the sky. That's where they hang out. Make a clean break from the past to alleviate pain and suffering. In a reading about money, you may need to cut your losses, let go of possessions, and or separate yourself from a past financial matter.
Ooh, like when he left that sack of money behind?
That is a really good example. I'm also thinking of specifically selling the rights to his life story.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Tie up loose ends, then move forward with the newfound insights you've gained from a painful situation.
Yeah.
And there it is.
I feel like he definitely had a clean break from it too. It's like once you get caught and put in prison, like you can't really go back.
Yeah. I mean, yep. Wowzers. If the reading is about your job, this card suggests you're burned out mentally and perhaps physically. Okay.
The plane definitely was.
Yeah. Seriously, literally out of fuel. You've been under so much pressure and you don't think you can go on.
Gosh.
Oh my gosh. Fortunately, you've turned a corner and the road looks brighter ahead. Sometimes this 10 can represent backstabbing, so be on guard. That's really interesting because I just think of him with his back to like the wheel and the controls.
Oh.
Sneaky sneak.
I was going to ask, did anyone like betray him?
I mean, I don't think that there was anyone close to him that there was a representation of betrayal in that respect.
You said he had a partner at one point, like way younger, but
I think they just parted ways. I don't think there was anything to that.
I mean, he was kind of stabbing himself in the back.
A little bit. In a reading about love, the upright 10 represents exhaustion after a period of hardship in a relationship. Sometimes it signifies betrayal, or it may represent the strain of caring for a loved one through an illness. Oh my God. Minisode. Holy shit.
That also just like makes me think of his mom, who was still cared for him, you know, from afar and wanted him to have the bulletproof vest. And
yeah.
Oh, I mean, he kind of had a mental illness. I mean, if you're doing something like that, you're not completely healthy in your brain. So.
Well, and it does sort of remind me of a story that his mom told that, I mean, kind of early on in the days of him sort of Robin Hooding in the forest, if you will. The cops showed up and they were like, ma'am, was he here? And she was like, yeah. And they're like, why didn't you call us? And she's like, he was hungry, so I made him breakfast. And she talks about how she makes her hash browns from scratch and da-da-da. And she was like, he's my kid. If he shows up hungry, I'm still going to feed him.
Yeah.
And I mean, they could definitely have charged her with like aiding and abetting, but she was like, go ahead.
Oh, I'm glad they didn't.
Yeah.
That's that's a tough one.
Yeah. Yeah. I think at that point, his crimes just hadn't escalated to a level where they were going to push that. But that's a tough one.
Yeah.
Even if a relationship ends, you may look forward to starting over and being free from the troubles of the past. Minisode. Also, definitely general vibes from the case as a whole, but holy shit. Holy shit.
Wow. That's crazy. Because even though he went to jail, it still feels like a better option than living the way he was living.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't think you can do that long term. It's certainly not sustainable.
No. That's not the whole vibe of this card is doing something that's not sustainable. That's just draining you.
That's true. Yeah. I think that's a really good like sort of premise that you locked onto with that.
Thank you.
Oh, look at you. You little witchy bitch. Yeah, I think that's all that I see. I don't have any extra excerpts. We do have our little Patreon mini-sode, which I have to say, now after the tarot reading, I'm super excited to get into. And there's some wild stuff. It gets kind of weird.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like weird.
I think it might get into a little bit of a weird territory that will be interesting for you.
Okay. Is there high strangeness involved?
Little bit. Yeah. A little bit.
Is the Mothman involved?
Nah, I mean, not that strange.
Damn it.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I do what I can, but I can't make the Mothman be involved.
I mean, he seems to be involved in everything.
A lot. Honestly.
He's got his little mothy his little mothy antennas and everything.
Tentacles, antenna.
Yeah, same
antennae.
thing.
Yeah. Little fly mitts. Oops. Burk.
Well,
I think that's it.
There was no extra excerpts? I love when there's extras. Dang
I do too, but the extra excerpt is literally the Patreon bonus mini-sode now.
Ooh.
So what are you going to do?
I also just glanced at the recording clock and it said 11:11.
Ooh. Okay.
Just saying. Well, should we get out of here?
Let's do it. We have, things to do, places to see.
Dead people to walk over.
Yep. This is fine. I agreed to this.
She did. Reluctantly, but she did.
What are you going to do? Anyways, I guess
have a creepy ass day. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Unless I die at the cemetery.
Unless you Houdini away from us and we never see you again. Please don't. We like you.
I know. If I Houdini away, I would also like to go to a tropical island.
Yes. Find us in the Bahamas.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably not in the cemetery.
Probably not. No. I'd like for us to be a very well-funded production that can record remotely.
I'm
Perhaps
sure they have
from Bali.
I'm sure they have cemeteries in tropical places too. So
they definitely do.
I'll have somewhere to hang out.
Okay.
Okay.
Deal.